Hi, this is Dennis with Cyberkraft. Today we're going to be practicing with an ISACA CISM, a real quiz that they have. This is a quiz you can practice with yourself. So check the links in the description if you want to practice on your own. But we're going to go through this quiz. I'm going to talk to you about my thought process and how to answer these questions. And we're going to see how we do with the quiz. So let's go ahead and get started. And we'll just walk through each step here. All right. Risk assessment and business impact analysis, BIA, have been completed for a major proposed purchase and new process for an organization. There's a disagreement between the information security manager and the business department manager, who will be responsible for evaluating the results and identified risk. Which of the following would be the best approach of the information security manager? Okay, so we want to look, it's very important to find key words and phrases in these quizzes and in these questions. So a lot of times we also have to reconstruct what has happened in order. So we know here that we see a risk assessment and BIA have been completed. So we know that that's completed. So that's done. This is for a purchase. That's not that important. New process for an organization. There's a disagreement between the security manager and the department manager. Which of the following would be the best approach for the information security manager? So the security manager is who we're looking at here. We need to figure out the approach for them. So accepting the business manager's decision, probably not the best approach. We don't want to accept risk without doing any sort of mitigation. Accept the information security manager's decision on the risk of the corporation, possibly. Review the risk assessment with executive management for final input. I'm leaning towards this. Remember, the CISM exam wants you to incorporate senior decision or key decision making from key stakeholders. So it's very important to understand that when you take the exam, always getting the input from key stakeholders or from senior management is important, and that's emphasized in a lot of these questions. So I'm leaning towards C. And create a new risk assessment and BIA to resolve the agreement. Now, this would be a lot of work and would cost, because it's a lot of work, it costs a lot of money. So I don't think it's this one. I don't think we ignore the other person's thoughts on the issue. It's better if there is a disagreement to involve senior leadership. So I think this is a pretty clear C. I could be wrong, but let's go. Okay, so let's go to the next one. I guess you just go automatically to the next one here. All right, who is accountable for ensuring that information is categorized and that specific protective measures are taken? Okay, so who's accountable? Okay, now this is a key word, accountable. Now, it doesn't say responsible, it says accountable. So it's not the people actually categorizing the information. It's the people who are responsible for that information ultimately, responsible for ensuring that this happens. Now that's going to be senior management. So if we take a look, security officer, senior management, end user, and the custodian. Doesn't say data custodian. Let's go back and read the question. Who is accountable for ensuring that information is categorized and that the specific protective measures are taken? Okay, so I want to highlight something, how I approach these questions, and I recommend this is how you approach these questions as well. I read the question, then I read the 4 answers. I try not to jump on an answer, and then I go back and I read the question again. That ensures that I'm picking up all the key words and I'm really scrutinizing the question for those keywords and phrases. So accountable is a key word here. You wouldn't normally say accountable in this context. You might say like who's responsible. Accountable should kind of jump out at you. It's a word that might not often be. It's just slightly out of place. And when you see things that are slightly out of place or they don't quite fit in the context, then you know that that is a keyword or phrase that's trying to justify a specific answer. So I believe that this would be senior management. Now, I could go on this whole spiel and this could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be senior management. So let's try it. All right. Abnormal server communication from inside the organization to external parties may be monitored to do what? Okay, so it may be monitored to do what? So I also like to rephrase the questions in plain English. So abnormal server communications from inside the organization to external parties may be monitored to, we can rephrase that. Why do we want to monitor abnormal server communication? All right, so is it to record and trace, the trace of advanced persistent threats? Okay, possibly. Evaluate the process resiliency of server operations. Verify the effectiveness of an intrusion detection system, possible. Support a non-repudiation framework in e-commerce. Okay, this one's kind of out of left field here. So we want to, abnormal server communication probably indicates some sort of malicious threat. So why would we want to monitor that? Because it's coming from inside the organization to external parties. Probably it's probably like a backdoor or something being communicated to a malicious actor. So now we could be doing this as part of a test, which means this might work. But usually the intrusion detection system is designed to go off at the start or when a threat is first introduced. If it hasn't picked it up by now, when the communication's occurring, then it's probably not working. So I don't think this would be the most correct answer, though it is on the right track. I do think it's A, because I think this speaks to the fact, and what this is trying to say says abnormal server communication, and then from inside to external, which is indicating that we have a breach in the network. So that's going to be, I think, A. It's not going to be resiliency of the server. There's nothing here that's attacking the availability of our systems. And non-repudiation framework, this is more auditing and non-repudiation. There's nothing here that we're failing to capture. So I think it's going to be advanced persistent threats. Which of the following authentication methods prevents authentication replay? Okay, this is a more straightforward question. Password hash implementation, challenge response mechanism, wired equivalent privacy encryption usage, hypertext transfer protocol basic authentication. Which of the following authentication methods prevents authentication replay? Okay, well, I can tell you which ones it isn't. Wired equivalent privacy, or WEP, is a deprecated technology. We don't use that anymore. That was phased out for WPA, wired protection, WPA 2 and 3. And then hypertext transfer protocol basic authentication, that's not going to, just ignore that. Either that's a deprecated technology or that's a red herring. I can't tell which. So it's either password hash, and we're going to be using password hashes anyway when we store passwords, so that's not going to help us protect against replay. There are pass the hash attacks that will reuse a cookie essentially, but password hash implementation is not going to protect against replay, so it has to be challenge response mechanism. So okay, and Wi-Fi protected access is WPA. Just came to my head. Okay, IT related risk management activities are most effective when they are what? Okay, IT related risk management activities are most effective when they are treated as a distinct process, conducted by the IT department, integrated with business processes, communicated to all employees. IT related risk management activities are most effective. When are IT related risk management activities most effective? So when is risk management most effective? We can just break that down to that sentence there. When it's treated as a distinct process, no, you should have those activities working with other activities. Conducted by the IT department, they're going to be their IT activities. This doesn't really help us. Integrate with business processes. That makes sense. The more you have your risk management working in tangent with actual processes is going to help. Communicate to all employees. That's helpful, but I think this is a more correct answer there. So let's go with that. Integrate with business processes. All right, which of the following is the best way to detect an intruder who successfully penetrates a network before significant damage is inflicted? All right, perform periodic penetration testing. Establish minimum security baselines. implement vendor default settings, install a honeypot on the network. Right, which of the following is the best way to detect intruder who successfully penetrates a network before significant damage is inflicted? Okay, so we have to establish the timeline of events in this question. So this is an intruder who has already penetrated the network. It says an intruder who successfully penetrates a network. So we want to detect that intruder, but before damage is inflicted. So the intruder has breached the network, which means IDS systems, well, unless you have them layered, might not be super effective. It doesn't really say anything about IDS. So what is going to detect an intruder who is already inside our perimeter? Now, penetration testing and security baselines, those are good steps to improve our security posture, but that's not going to directly detect somebody in our network, so we can rule those out. This is absolutely wrong. You don't want to implement vendor default settings, so that has to leave install a honeypot. So even without knowing what a honeypot is, I could eliminate all three of these. A honeypot is designed to distract and detect someone who has infiltrated your network. It's basically a definition question for a honeypot. But the way the CISM will ask these questions, they'll ask them in a roundabout way. It doesn't say which one of these is a honeypot or what describes a honeypot. It's going to ask you a scenario like this. So it's a little more complex. Okay, which of the following presents the greatest threat to the security of enterprise resource planning system? Now let's approach this question as if you didn't know what an enterprise resource planning system is. Okay, so let's try that. So which of the following presents the greatest threat to the security of enterprise resource planning system or ERP system? All right, user ad hoc reporting is not logged. Network traffic is through a single switch. Operating system security patches have not been applied. Database security defaults to ERP settings. Database security defaults to ERP settings. I'm not sure how that one works, that sentence. I think defaults is a verb there. All right, which of the following presents the greatest threat to the security of enterprise resource planning system? Okay, so say we don't know what an enterprise resource planning system is. Okay, user ad hoc reporting is not logged. Well, we know that is basically indicating, whatever user activities are not being logged, that means we're not doing proper non-repudiation. But does that really pose a threat to a system? Probably not. Network traffic is through a single switch. While that presents a single point of failure, would that lead to a failure of this system, whatever system this is? Probably not. I mean, it's good to have redundancy, but a lot of subnets are through a single switch, so I don't think that's necessarily a problem. Now, this is definitely bad security practice, not applying patches correctly. So I would lean towards C. And database security defaults to ERP settings. I don't know what that means. So, and especially if I didn't know what ERP was, I would not know what this means. So what I do know is that this would pose a threat to something, and it would pose a threat to any system. So we're going to go ahead and select that one. So it's important, if you see a question and say you don't know what a certain term is, don't panic. Don't think you're going to get the question wrong. Use deduction to get the right answer, which I think this is the right answer. Okay. In social engineering, or in a social engineering scenario, which of the following will most likely reduce the likelihood of an unauthorized individual gaining access to computing resources? So social engineering, that's a type of insider threat. Well, it involves insider threat because you have a user who discloses information usually that you don't intend them to disclose. Okay, so we see implementing on-screen masking of passwords, conducting periodic security awareness programs, increasing the frequency of password changes, requiring that passwords be kept strictly confidential. Okay, so in social engineering, which of the following will most likely reduce the likelihood of unauthorized individual gaining access to computer resources? So we can restructure the sentence. In social engineering, which of the following will most likely reduce, it says unauthorized individual gain access to computer resources, but we can kind of infer from that the employee or somebody within the organization is disclosing a set of credentials, maybe through a phishing attack or revealing information over the phone. So would on-screen masking and passwords help that? No. That would help shoulder surfing or prevent shoulder surfing in like a public setting. That does not really apply here. Security awareness is one way to help prevent or to mitigate the effects of insider threat because you're training your users. So I would think it would be this one. Frequency of password changes won't matter if a user is disclosing their password, and requiring that passwords are kept confidential. I mean, that's a good security practice, but that won't influence what a user does. Okay, so that's not going to help a user understand and recognize social engineering attacks. So I think this is definitely the correct answer here. All right, a post-incident review of a security incident. Okay, post-incident review of an incident revealed that there was a process that was not monitored. As a result, monitoring functionality has been implemented. Which of the following may best be expected from this remediation? Okay, this one's worded a little weird. So let's break down all the garbage in this sentence. We reviewed a security incident and a process was not monitored. Okay, so a process was not being monitored. As a result, we monitored it. Got it. Okay, so a process wasn't being monitored. We started monitoring it. What's going to happen, or what can we expect from monitoring? So why is monitoring good? Why is monitoring good is what I'm going to distill this whole paragraph into. Why is monitoring good? What's the best solution? Okay, now I'm going to read the answers. Reduction in total incident duration, increase in risk tolerance, improvement in identific, facilitation of escalation. All right, why is monitoring good? Best answer. Reduction in total incident duration. Does monitoring reduce the duration of an incident? No. Does monitoring increase risk tolerance? No. Does monitoring improvement in identific? I don't know. Does monitoring facilitation of escalation? Possibly, but not really. So I think it's this one. I think this is cut off. I think this is a sentence like this is supposed to be improvement in identification. Now, monitoring would help with improvement in identification. So I'm going to take a stab at it and say that this is just a cut off word because this would make the most sense. None of these others make sense. So I'll go ahead and tell ISACA about that too because we're ISACA partner. Cyberkraft's an ISACA premium partner. So I'll let them know. Hopefully that gets fixed. It'll probably get fixed pretty soon. So I apologize about that. All right, to determine how a security breach occurred on a corporate network, a security manager looks at the logs of various devices. Which of the following best facilitates the correlation and review of these logs? Okay. Database server, domain name server, time server, proxy server. Oh, okay. So this is very wordy. To determine a security breach occurred on the corporate, determine how a breach occurred, a manager looks at the logs of various devices. So which of the following helps the manager look at these logs? So it's important when logs, and this is driving a specific point, and I can tell that, when you have logging, it's very important that all of your devices are set in the correct time. Otherwise, you're going to have duplicate events. You'll have one device reporting that an event happened at this time, another device saying it happened at this time. So a SEM device, a security information event management device, can help you with a log deduplication. And it's very important to have like a network times protocol, NTP protocol server, or you point all your devices to a specific authoritative time source. So I can tell you it's time server. All right. Okay, so I guess we're done. And I think I got to put my information here. So let's do that. You guys aren't seeing the drop down. United States is hidden towards the bottom. If you want to contact, if you have any questions about this quiz or you want CISM training, reach out, info@cyberkrafttraining.com. That's my email address. You can contact me anytime. Happy to answer any questions you have. All right, so let's go ahead and send those results. I guess I got to pull up my email now. Oh, okay. Oh, hey, we won. Okay. So we got all 10, right? I think so. Yeah, okay. We got all 10. Okay. Good deal. So let's see. Answers: risk assessment, business impact analysis. Now let's look at that one that was weird. Was that really the correct answer? It had to be. A post-incident review of security incident revealed that their process was not monitored. You chose improvement in identification, so I guess it is just cut off. Correct: when a key process is not monitored, the lack of monitoring may lead to security vulnerability or threat going undiscovered, resulting in a security incident. Once consistent monitoring is implemented, identification of vulnerabilities and threats will improve. So yeah, identification of vulnerabilities and threats. So that's probably what it was trying to say. Improvement in identification of vulnerabilities and threats. So I think this was just cut off somehow. All right, but let me scroll through these. If you want to take a look at the reasoning behind these, just pause the video here and take a look. But I think this is a really good quiz to learn, different CISM concepts. Now, if you sign up through us through Cyberkraft training, we have both self-paced options and live instructor-led classes for the CISM. And our classes include the official ISACA CISM Questions, the Questions, Answers, and Explanations database, the QAE, which is incredibly helpful. You get this whole environment here, the Questions, Answers, and Explanation database for the CISM. And you get the full CISM review manual, which is either a digital book or you get the physical book when you sign up with us. So the physical book's great if you like to have a physical book. A lot of people like the digital book because you can highlight certain things, make flashcards, has text-to-speech. So there's advantages to both. Really depends on your preference. But yeah, if you are looking for CISM training, go over to cyberkrafttraining.com, check out the link, and happy to help you get your CISM. Love helping people get their CISM in any certification. That's what I do. So, but I hope this was helpful for you. Hope this this quiz really solidified your thought process when you're attacking these CISM questions. And happen to get 10 out of 10 correct. So, I hope my thought process, my approach to the questions is something you can take with you when you approach your CISM quiz or your CISM exam. But thanks so much for watching today. Appreciate you. Have a great day.